Hey everyone, Couch Investor back to another video for today. So a big day, big news for SoFi, but the stock is down close to 3%. So what is the explanation there? In short, it might be a type of buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. But the most important thing here was the moratorium ending. What happened today, the decision of the Supreme Court, yes, is bullish for SoFi, but it wasn't as bullish, or it would not have been as big of a bullish effect on the company as the moratorium ending when it does. So let's go over the decision and then talk a bit more about the effects of it. At the end, the chart, also an analyst note. By the way, the Wedbush analyst, I think, still has around this price target at $3 or something, which we've talked about in the past. Didn't make much sense, but here we are. Anyways, let's start. So the Supreme Court on Friday struck down President Joe Biden's federal student loan forgiveness plan, denying tens of millions of Americans the chance to get up to $20,000 of their debt erased. The High Court said the president didn't have the authority to instruct his education secretary to cancel such a large amount of consumer debt without authorization from Congress. Can the secretary use his power to abolish $430 billion in student loans, completely canceling loan balances for 20 million borrowers as a pandemic winds down to its end? We can't believe the answer would be yes. Now, of course, Joe Biden wasn't really happy with that decision. He accused Republicans of hypocrisy. They had no problem with billions in pandemic-related loans to businesses, including hundreds of thousands and in some cases millions of dollars for their own businesses. And those loans were forgiven. But when it came to providing relief to millions of hardworking Americans, they did everything in their power to stop it. Well, to be honest, it's not really an apples to apples comparison right now. The pandemic, nobody chose to enter in the pandemic. Nobody chose to, close their business for, X amount of time. They were forced to close their business. You decide to take out a loan to study whatever you want to study, things that don't really pay well afterwards. You decided to take on that loan. And usually people know you take a loan, you have to pay it back. Doesn't matter, right? You want to buy a car loan, you know you have to pay it back. You want to buy a house loan, you have to pay it back as well. The same thing goes here with studies. It's just so that some people go to university to party, so they choose the easiest thing there, but still you have to pay to go and study in those facilities, etc., etc. Now, I 100% agree. I don't think that education should be so expensive, especially since you're not getting more today than you were way before. But that's not the story right now. The story here is people took out a loan, you have to pay it back. Because imagine this passed, right? Imagine they were forgiven, they don't have to pay back their loans. How is it fair to all the people that are working extremely hard, that have already paid back their loans? How is it fair to them exactly? It isn't. Now they continue by saying here that critics say plan was expensive and immoral. At an estimated cost of $400 billion, President Biden's policy would have been among the most expensive executive actions in US history. The president's unilateral student debt cancellation plan was an expensive, inflammatory, poorly targeted, and would have done nothing to improve the affordability of higher education. With today's Supreme Court's decision, it's time to put these costly cancellation schemes behind us. And I couldn't agree more, right? Because this doesn't really resolve the problem. This is just a one-time thing that obviously helps with the agenda, the political agenda, right? You made a promise, and obviously you want that promise to be kept. Didn't work. But even if he kept that promise, how is this helping the future generation? It doesn't. It doesn't really tackle the real issue here. Now, a bit more context here with regards to that decision, why that decision is bullish but will not really affect the business as much as the moratorium ending. And for that, we'll go to our favorite Substack newsletter, Brad Freeman, Stock Market Nerd. Very, very good newsletter. It's free, so go try it out. I'll link it down below. This is not sponsored whatsoever. Now, he said here, and this was last week, by the way, while the decision matters for SoFi business, it already secured the potential big win via the end of the student loan moratorium. Payments will return in October, and that is what mattered most. Why? Potential forgiveness represents only about 15% of the outstanding credit SoFi can refinance. For Pell Grants, recipients, that forgiveness is closer to 30% of the outstanding credit, but SoFi generally underwrites highly affluent borrowers that would qualify just for that 15%, if anything. By the way, we have an example that I found on Twitter. So Eddie here said, I got denied a personal loan at SoFi with a credit score over 800. Says here SoFi doesn't give out loans easily. To that, Victor Tang here answered, mine is 849, still got denied, which 849, pretty high. And he got even the receipts here for those that don't really trust the tweets. This is proof. Now continuing here, we got the 15%, and the other 85% of the outstanding credit will soon be strongly motivated to refinance in order to lengthen terms or lower rates. We've talked about that in past videos already. This is what the end of the moratorium means and is why that was so vital to SoFi's business. Of course, since 2019, SoFi's business has grown, and so this part of the business has also become a bit smaller. It used to be very, very big, but since 2019, the business has been growing quite fast, as you know. Furthermore, newly originated student borrowers will now be driven to refinance as soon as these new borrowers can secure more favorable terms. That wasn't true for the last 3 years. The math is simple, 85% of the outstanding credit and 100% of the new originations being pushed to refinance is far more impactful than 15% of outstanding credit. And so you see why, yes, today's ruling or Friday's ruling was pretty bullish for the company, but you can also see why the market reacts the way it did, right? By the rumor, sell the news type of scenario, because let's face it, since last quarter, we did have nice momentum with the stock. Now, all things considered, I still do think that the second half of the year will show even more promise for SoFi's business. So long as the business keeps on executing, I don't really care what happens with the stock in the short term. Now, if you're enjoying this type of videos so far, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, would really appreciate that. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to get the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Now let's have a look at the new analyst note. And this came from Compass Point. He initiated coverage of SoFi at sell as capital could constrain its growth in fiscal year 2024. With the potential for the balance sheet growth rate to slow over the next few quarters and credit costs to increase materially with portfolio seasoning before accounting for credit deterioration risk, they believe it is difficult to justify owning SoFi at current levels. He said the company's fair value accounting treatment for personal loans, student loans has helped when the company experienced significant growth, but creates a back-end margin overhang that could be compounded if balance sheet growth slows, as we expect it will during fiscal year 23-24, which currently we have no signs of that actually happening. And as we have previously discussed, SoFi has plenty of capital to use. And lastly, with regards to the chart, as long as we stay over that blue line here, we see just over $8 and reach the earnings report, we create a little base here and then let's move on from there. Because for me, there's no reason right now to go over that $10 or try to go over that $10 as we've tried 2-3 weeks ago. We got very much rejected there. Currently, let's try form a base here, much better for the stock in the long term. Now, as for the MACD, this is, by the way, on the weekly chart. MACD is still bullish, RSI not overbought, but high. So to conclude, was the ruling positive for the business? Yes, it was. Is it as positive as the moratorium ending? No. But to me, again, this is a type of buy the rumor, sell the news type of reaction. For me, so long as the business continues to perform, so long as management is focused on execution, I'll be happy. The stock will do what the stock will do in the short term. I don't really care that much. I'm very focused on what the business will do. So that will be it for this video. If you enjoyed this type of video, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.